Subliminal Nomad, and before I give the reason for the season, I kind of want to say something, and it might also sound like stream of consciousness because it kind of is, and I feel okay about that. So during the past election season, in the last heinous 10 months, I have been heartbroken, feeling confused about things, even though I know I already knew, if that makes sense. I don't and still don't understand how people I've known and known well for long amounts of time, that I just don't understand people who I think, feel, assume, know voted for everything terrible, the disgusting and democracy ending things that are happening right now. People who I know are too smart for this, too smart to fall for whatever appealed to you. I think I came to the answer of this confusion myself, and it's also heartbreaking to me as well. I know you all are smart enough to notice the glaring contradictions of the things that he says and does 24/7. I'm going to get more into this later. I never got on here laughing and saying that any community, demographic, etc. deserves what they have gotten or for sure will get. Even though I wasn't sad it was coming for you, I was angry because it is coming for us all. I was and I still am angry because even though I would or could never vote for this, I thought most people have a moral compass, a North Star, especially if you claim to be a follower of Christ or any other religion that teaches love for your neighbor as yourself, being kind to the stranger, honesty, empathy, etc. Christian nationalism is not the same or related to Jesus Christ at all or anything good for anyone. I wanted to stop calling myself a Christian because I wanted no association to that bullshit. I am self-admittedly naive often. As mad as I am, I don't know if I want to be the kind of person that is happy about the terrible things that you may want for me or others to come back on you. That's the Jesus in me. I am hopeful that we can all unite quickly to put an end to this and let our young nation learn this lesson and fix this before it's too late. If not, and you like the way it is, I love that for you and SMD. And bring on the revolution. But this isn't American. Division is a political strategy of the hateful who mean no one but themselves, and in this case, the 1% any good. Okay, that's done, so here we go. Good morning. How y'all? I genuinely hope everyone is okay due to the state of our union, the government shutdown, the government using chemical warfare and military weapons on American citizens, zip tying babies and American babies and separating them from their parents during an ICE raid. Trump is considering pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell is some hot bullshit. And the very loud non-response is not and will never be okay. Okay? I am not a conspiracy theorist. I feel like the Republicans wanted a government shutdown so they wouldn't have to swear in the Democratic woman who won her father's seat when he passed, and she was set to vote and the Epstein files would be released. Trump is bringing up the Insurrection Act, which hasn't been used since the LA riots in 1992, which would deploy the military if the federal courts prevented him from deploying the National Guard to protect federal buildings and conduct law enforcement operations that I don't see the need for. But the Insurrection Act is a primary statutory exception to the Posse Comitatus Act, While the Posse Comitatus Act generally prohibits the use of federal troops for domestic law enforcement, the Insurrection Act gives the president the authority to deploy military within the United States in specific limited circumstances. So that's not great. I don't know if any insurrections going on. I just know about January 6th and the violent offenders that y'all's president pardoned after he made that shit happen. The last time he was president, he messed up our trading soybeans with China. Now China starts getting their soybeans from Argentina, who Trump just proposed to give $20 billion, billion with a B. That's a shit ton of money, especially with the situations that Americans are in. The farmers are suffering because they voted for this. He might bail them out again. My memory is fucked, but I remember the last time he did this, and what I said what happened is exactly what happened then, and it's what's happening now. China says they will never buy soybeans from us again, so if Trump bails the farmers out, he will be again fixing a problem he created, and his followers will praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. But I also heard something about J.D. Vance and maybe the Waltons having a company that buys farms. Just an FYI. We also have the exploding of the judge's house in South Carolina. Her house just randomly exploded, and the fire was like so supercharged that her husband broke his damn legs jumping out of the window to escape that inferno. And it was an example of political violence. She didn't think it was a good idea to give Trump the South Carolina voter rolls and stuff, and then her house got blowed up. Be outraged. This is very, very wild. Be loud, get angry, spread the word far and wide, loudly and angrily to everyone. This shit is unacceptable. Call your representatives, but if they're Republican, you might have to wait until they decide to go back to work from the paid holiday that they have given themselves, so they would not have to give everyone affordable health care and vote on the Epstein files. But you can call the Democrats and let them know to set it off. I suggest. The number is 202-224-3121 for your members of Congress. Blow them up like this is a crisis, because it really is. I'm pretty sure this is the number to leave a brief message for Bone Spur Mussolini. 202-456-1111. Also, there's an upcoming nationwide peaceful protest. If you want info on that, go to courage2025.org/N2. It's a No King's Day protest. Again, this will be a nationwide protest, peaceful, to defend democracy. The first No Kings protest was one of the largest in history, and I feel that this one might be even bigger. It's October 18th. This is unfortunately a giant case study in insecure masculinity and how far these people who hate themselves or things about themselves for their own perceived imperfections like height or lack thereof, or someone who was given a shit ton of money from their dad and still fucked it up and deep down knows that they aren't likable because of the many reasons they don't like themselves. Take that shit to a therapist, not to us. We don't have time for this shit, and we don't have time for this shit. Real quick, I just wanted to mention that with the government shutdown, I don't know how safe it will be to fly if this continues. The air traffic controllers are essential workers, but they aren't being paid as long as the government is shut down. If you have plans to fly near, on, or around next Sunday, please take heed. Per the Transportation Secretary, at least some quantity of the air traffic controllers will need to drive Uber, Lyft, etc. to make ends meet in this hellscape. I've heard of something going down with that in LA, so just be woke to that. Be woke to every situation to even survive in this shit. I made a video about government surveillance in Palantir, and now we have more. ICE is going to be coming through social media to look for anything against the regime. The internet really is forever. So I don't know when this starts. One of my fries says around the beginning of 2026, but fries are unreliable, so don't take that word as my bond. Then who knows what happens. I'm pretty sure that all of this is illegal because America doesn't have a king who you must swear happiness and allegiance to. And no matter what the regime says, freedom of speech is still a thing. Excuse me. At least it was before I started recording this video. I pray it will stay intact many, many eons after I'm done. Anyone raised in this country and knowing that the reason that this country exists is because the colonists that stole this land and murdered the Native Americans did not want a king. That is the whole reason this country exists. So again, with my generation at least, I grew up hearing about all the freedoms and such. And so we all should recognize that pointing out fascism when you see it is a good thing. Like, we all should agree on that. So I'm really trying to cram as much as I can into this video because I have decided to take my foundational black ass back to Black history, aka American history. They're one and the same because this regime raises my pressure. And there's so much bullshit coming at us every minute. It's not worth the complications to my fragile health for me currently. And remember, I choose happiness. Plus, my original mission remains to tell the stories about our country that a lot of people don't know and to build community and understanding. Knowledge really is power, and you can learn a lot from history. I know you might not believe that. You might be skeptical considering that what's happening currently in the United States has already happened in Germany. I actually took a piece of what I had wrote as my goodbye to this hellscape I didn't choose for myself or anyone else video. That's the title. To all of this bullshit for this one. Also very important, someone who is very, very evil has made AI videos using updated AI of Michael Jackson doing things like ordering fries and arguing with Prince about who had the bigger, better funeral. I advise, don't watch them. I watched it against my will, so you don't have to. So don't. And before all this bullshit, it was hard getting through the day, and I'm always needfully medicated. So how am I doing? Not well, bitch. And honestly, a reason to say that is always welcome and currently warranted as far as I'm concerned, and I'll defend your damn right to say it anywhere, anytime. Anyway, like I said, I've decided to get my ass back to Black American history, aka American history. I've never stopped, actually. I've just been sick and too disgusted about America to say anything about all this shit that never stops. I kind of made the video on the 10 steps to autocratic life and dropped the damn mic, which, by the way, I'm going to yell this. Trump and the Republican Party are to blame for this government shutdown. They control all three branches of the government. They needed Democrats to sign on to keep the government funded, but the Republicans were trying to further fuck us and let COVID-era ACA, aka Obamacare subsidies expire. Premiums could spike 75% if not. The Democrats are the worst at messaging. I don't know if everyone knows and understand how government works, or I guess they don't. Or if Democrats just don't know how important messaging is. But Democrats need to be screaming about the fact that the regime is to blame for this shutdown. And they need to be screaming in plain, simple language with pictures and drawings of how and why this is happening and who is to blame. Maybe this will also help people who also don't understand who has taken our freedoms, civil liberties, and social safety nets away while raiding our own states and citizens at the same damn time. So, like I was saying, the Dems hope to extend the subsidies originally enacted by the Biden administration during COVID-19 rescue legislation. These subsidies are set to expire at the end of the year. Failure to do so could spike premiums by 75%. I keep saying it, on average, according to KFF, which is a nonpartisan health policy research group. Obamacare is one of the best or only ways that Americans who don't get private health insurance through like their job, employers, or who are self-employed can secure insurance plans. A huge hike in premiums that will become evident in coming weeks as Obamacare customers seek re-enrollment can make health care unaffordable and cause extreme hardships to many Americans. State leaders warn that the repercussions could be immense for some and that the timeline is even shorter than November the 1st because the first open enrollment period starts October the 15th in Idaho, I think. So, unfortunately, the damn premiums are being decided now. It's been 15 years since my forever president, Barack Obama, signed the Affordable Care Act into law. Republicans have tried to repeal it, to invalidate it, to defund it, to beat the shit out of it, to get it thrown out by the Supreme Court. But the law has proven remarkably unkillable and has only grown in popularity as it's become more deeply embedded in U.S. life. But if Republicans succeed in ending some ACA subsidies, they would obviously just start to tear it apart brick by brick to try to get rid of this beautiful things that helps millions of Americans, me included. However, and to say not evil people, there is no surprise that Republican leaders in Congress so far appear unmoved by the threat of escalating health care premiums. Senate Majority Leader John Thune remained adamant this past Friday that discussions over ACA tax credits could not happen while the government is shut down. So with everything going on in America, I've been thinking about, like, what's Trump's end game? What's he trying to do? Because his statements and actions are so contradictory to each other. I asked a friend who's always my sounding board. We couldn't figure it out. It doesn't make any sense. I rarely use ChatGPT. I like to ask it fun questions about fashion and my superhero nickname. Today I asked it about Trump. My question was, why does Trump come in and do these huge sweeping things that go against each other? This is what ChatGPT said. Don't be upset that I used it. Be upset that I needed to. I'm a really curious person, and I wanted to see what answer it would give me and if it was biased or not. So here we go. ChatGPT's response was, that's a sharp observation. Thank you. Trump's words, policies, and actions often appear contradictory, and there are a few key reasons behind that pattern. Populist style over consistency. Trump's political style is rooted in populism and showmanship. He tends to say whatever resonates with the audience in front of him, whether that's evangelical voters, business leaders, or working class crowds, even if it contradicts what he said elsewhere. The goal is to appeal and dominance in the moment, not coherence over time. Image versus policy reality. Often his words serve branding, while his policies serve power and money. Example, he talks about protecting the forgotten American worker, but cuts taxes for corporations and the wealthy. Example, he says he wants more babies born, but weakens health care and maternal protections. The rhetoric feeds identity and emotion. The policies serve elite or personal interests. Chaos is a political strategy. Contradictions keep opponents, the media, and even allies off balance. If no one can predict his next move, Trump maintains control of the narrative. He thrives in chaos where he can frame himself as the only strong man who can fix it. Ego and impulse. Trump doesn't filter himself the way traditional politicians do. He often speaks impulsively, guided by emotion, grievance, or the need for applause, obviously. Later, his administration may implement policies that clash with his words. Shifting coalitions. His base isn't monolithic. His supporters are evangelical Christian, anti-immigration, business elites, working class populists, and they don't always want the same thing. Trump tries to speak to all at once, which forces contradictions. So this is ChatGPT's summary. Trump's contradictions aren't accidents. They're a mix of performance, transactional strategy, chaos management, and the fact that his words are often for show, while his policies serve other goals. So hopefully, I'm out of this shit. If you're interested, I will still continue to post what's happening on my social medias, but I really tried to give everyone good current info to know, especially in this time now that's dangerous because, ICE is going to be looking for shit like this, and I just felt it prudent to give y'all a video because I'm going to try to stay out of this space. I don't have time for this shit, and I don't have time for this shit. TTFN. Bye.